well, I don't remember. I jumped through our interview, and you were talking
Mm.
about how when you were medicated, it was helpful because it forced at least a routine uh,
Yeah.
to your
Mm.
day. It wasn't a
Yeah.
routine that you liked. It involved a lot of just like knocking you out, making you really sleepy.
Yeah, that's right.
And and there was this trade-off between like a mediocre medicated life and a high highs, low lows, non-medicated life. And when we last spoke, you
Yeah.
had gone off both antidepressants and the bipolar meds, or
Yeah,
just
that's
one?
right. Yeah, yeah. I've still not been on that stuff. I still haven't gone back to smoking weed. I did quit smoking cigarettes for 3 months
Oh,
earlier
nice.
this year, and that was amazing. I didn't think I could do it, and then I've just really realized that it's a mind thing. You know, as cheesy as that sounds, it's just about making a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just like quitting the meds, only because in high school and stuff, I always thought that medication was a sign of weakness, or I thought the same thing of religion, and I was really stubborn when I was younger. But um, I suppose using that stubbornness and just saying, I don't want to smoke anymore. I just have to stop.
Yeah.
Wake up one morning and stop.
And so
Um,
that was for 3 months. You got
that
back
was for
on it,
three
right?
months. Yeah, so just during the lockdown, I just got so bored out of my brain that I started smoking
What
and
happened to that
drinking and
mind
all.
thing?
I don't know. It's just I suppose it just got to a point where I like living on my own, and I like having my own space. I like my own company. But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lockdowns are depressing. It's a government sort of thing, and I try to pick my fights. Like I don't think I want to be one of those people that I'm not an extremist. Like I wouldn't chain myself up to a tree if I wanted to save the forest, and I don't think fighting the government is something that um, I want to do, because it's just depressing. It's depressing how little change you can make as
Yeah.
one
And and
person.
and so lockdown happens. Uh
Mm.
you start smoking again. That's all right. That makes sense. We all have
It,
our
it just it just
vices.
Yeah, 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 that's right. And I don't like it. I still don't like it. Like it's really weird. Every time I do have a cigarette, the first thing I do when I finish it is wash my hands thoroughly, because I can't handle the smell of the nicotine on my fingers. And then I wash my mouth out straight after that. And I do it after every cigarette. I
Mm.
can't smoke a cigarette and then just chill. I actually have to cleanse myself of
Yeah,
it straight
I'm familiar
after.
with that. I'm kind of like that. I associate cigarettes with like drinking, and I haven't had the
Mm.
healthiest relationship with drinking. And so like
Right. Yeah, me neither. I still
um
prefer drinking to smoking, though, in many ways.
yeah, well it gives you, well, depend, some people get stuff out of smoking, but I think drinking gives you a little bit more. It takes a lot as well. It takes a lot from you.
Drinking supports my it supports my bipolar.
Yeah, tell me
when I
about it.
when I get drunk, I turn into a monster.
Yeah. Were you
But
hanging
you're
out with a monster the past year?
so the good thing for me is Viv, who you met last time
Mm-hmm.
in the so Viv moved into my house during the whole lockdown, which was great just to have somebody there to bounce off.
Yeah.
I think I would have gone crazy if I was on my own the whole time.
I'll just remain quiet about if you were crazy beforehand.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Sorry.
think I really
Sorry.
would have.
Easy joke.
No, no, no. It's a good joke to. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Like I think about that often. About it. You could get really paranoid if. I suppose I've been diagnosed as bipolar or whatever, and it is only one person or two people that have diagnosed it. It
Hmm.
could be a wrong diagnosis. I think about that. I could think about how, hey, I think everyone's got bipolar, or sometimes I think everyone's crazy. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's fascinating. I have spent a good part of the year just gaming a lot with a whole lot of people. Only one of the guys that I game with is older than I am, and he's married and has a pretty stable life by the sounds of it. But
Mm,
most of the other guys are in their sort of mid-20s,
yeah.
and just listening to them, you get to know these people if you hang out with them every night, on the microphone and on a headset, and you don't talk about the game. You end up talking about life a lot,
Yeah, it's
and
good to
even
have that community. Um,
yeah, well, yeah,
but to answer the big question was, how is this guy going to be off meds? And you've all
mm,
already kind of alluded to just how flimsy or spongy a diagnosis with a condition like bipolar 2, which can have a wide range, how it's
mm-hmm,
that question is flawed in the sense that it creates a binary of the efficacy of meds and just like how bipolar you are or are not. But anyway, with that big
mm,
caveat,
mm.
did it work? Did you have highs and lows, or do you just feel like it was a positive
Um,
thing to do?
well, I all consistency's gone out the window again. Like I sleep at really weird times, and so a lack of sleep is back. And I think that's what kind of drove me crazy in the first place is just not sleeping at all.
Mm.
But I am sleeping. Having a flatmate uh, helps me to have some sort of regularity. Like I think if Viv wasn't around, I really wouldn't care if I slept or not. I could just game all night or sleep on the couch or.
Mm.
But I go to my bed and I go try to get to sleep at a decent-ish time. Um, and I wouldn't say I've had really low lows at all.
That's
Like
good.
if I remember back to how low things got before the medication, uh, it was almost as if I was you know how sometimes you meet people that just cry and they cry like within it's like they hit a switch and all of a sudden they're tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
I, I've never been like that. I've never really cried much after my dad passed away when I was a teenager, so I've always just held it in ever since. But I do distinctly remember that before I was diagnosed and put on meds, I would I would listen to a Chris Cornell song or something, and I would just burst out in tears every single time. And even when friends were over, or my mum was over, or whatever, I would just burst into tears all the time. Um, that
Yeah.
that yeah, I've not had that before or since that sort of time when
Yeah.
I
And how
started to
old
really
were
lose it.
you when you were going through that?
That this was like 3-4 years ago, right? That I
Okay.
really hit rock bottom and had suicidal thoughts, and it wasn't so much suicidal thoughts as much as I just couldn't find a reason anymore
Yeah, I think
to
you
be
used the phrase
around.
like "I'm done with it" or something.
Yeah, that's it. I just felt like there was just no reason. Like every morning I got up and I was just like, I was so over it. I was just
Over it.
so
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. Yeah, so something to do with like at that time, it was almost like doing it to yourself. I'd imagine it'd be similar to like girls cutting their arms because I shoot a lot of girls and a lot of them you can see that they once used to cut their arms, and I've never really talked about that much, but I assume that it's some sort of guaranteed way to like get the tears out and I don't know. I don't know what it
Mm.
was, but I haven't been able to get that low again since.
Well, I'm really
Um,
happy for that. That's I think
mm,
we were worried about it, and I'm glad you didn't have to go through that. One thing, uh, since you were just talking about when you were going through that period, your relationship with your sister, I
mm,
think you said that she disowned you,
yeah,
um, and I
yeah,
think you even said maybe with good cause, because though
yeah.
we should have sympathy and empathy for someone going through something, it also sounded like perhaps you weren't the greatest sibling or family
Yeah,
member.
well, yeah, she's got a couple of young kids, and and I've got a real potty mouth. So even when they were really little, and we were still sort of having these weekly family dinners, I think at that time I was starting to lose it, and I was saying things, probably saying some horrible things out loud without recognizing it. You
Yeah.
know, but good news there. Well, lockdown's been hard, obviously, because we haven't been able to see anybody at all. But as soon as the lockdown ended, we caught up, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it was good to have I see them for dinner and all of that, and I'm going to catch up with them again this weekend as well. So that's kind of cool.
Wow. Well, that's great.
Mm.
What was the thing? What moved? What
Well,
opened or repaired? I'm struggling for an analogy.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think it took a long time because I did see a family counselor with my mom, and the idea was that my sister would come along to one of them at some point. In the end, she didn't want to. She still didn't feel like she could, and I ended up writing a very heartfelt apology letter, which she ignored and did not respond to. And I think it took some time. She just wanted to really make sure that I had straightened myself out. And
Yeah.
when I did finally see her face to face for the first time, she gave me a big hug, and she just came out and said, "Well, that's the thing, like because you were so." It wasn't the me that she grew up with, and she could see the drugs coursing through my veins, and she
Yeah.
didn't
Drugs you're
didn't
talking about when you're smoking a lot of
just
weed?
yeah, just always 24/7 smoking weed and drinking, and I was never straight, so
Mhm.
it was just nice for her to see a straight me, and that's pretty much what she said. She said she basically made a decision to not see me ever again if I'm gonna continue to be that person, and she wanted me to stop. And as it's very straightforward of her to say that, but I think the old me would be very against that. I'd be like, hey, it's my choice, and to smoke or whatever. But I totally understand her point of view, and I accepted that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's uh, it's you said it's just like time was involved, some effort was too. You went
yeah,
to family counseling, ate some humble pie. Was that what we
yeah,
call it, humble pie?
yeah. That's what you call it. Yeah, it really is just again, it's like a stubbornness that I had that I think going forward, and the way I live my life is more about acceptance. And I've always had arguments with her growing up that she should just accept me for who I am. And yeah, it was all flipped around to a point where I got rid of that stubbornness and just realized, okay, well, it's an ultimatum. I have no choice here.
Mhm.
So she wins. She's my
Yeah.
younger sister, and I never thought that she could win, but she wins, and mum wins in the end. And mum's so happy that we get along now.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
I'm happy for that. How old are you again?
46.
46. Yeah,
Mm.
it's funny. This show, I've done some follow-ups, and one thing that seems to come about is in nonfiction, in the real world, a lot of the answer to things is very unsexy, and it is just kind of time. There's a lot of aging out of certain behavior patterns. I
True.
think I've aged out of some of my vices, opposed to me like defeating them, or like the way it would happen in a movie. I think like I drink. I used to have a problem with drinking, and I think
Hmm.
it's still there, but I'm just a little bit older, and like some of that depression and like whatever like made me drink to a dangerous point. I think
Hmm.
I'm just like I didn't do that much. And then in your story, it is there was effort for healing between your family, but also
Yeah.
it was just time passing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think age. Every time someone says to a young person that it's like you're an old soul, or you're mature past your years. I just think that's a lot of bullshit. I think I really do think that age matters, and age and experience, but age really does matter. And I think the concept of trying to find a little bit more peace is lost on younger people because you don't need to when you're young. You might as well go crazy and figure it out later on.
And
But I
think
think,
that's what you did.
yeah, and I think, you
Or do
know,
do you think you figured it out at this point, or still? I mean, we're all
I
work
think,
in progress. Nothing's ever finished, but
yeah, I still think I am figuring it out. Like I would rather sit down with you and have a little rant about life rather than, you know, work on a new entrepreneurial business to make heaps of money. You know, like I think just that realignment and readjustment of values is a constant thing, and I really do tend to care less now. Like that's one thing that I've really noticed is you mentioned the word community before, and I wouldn't call it that. I think in the past I was so hung up on creating more marks in the wall and putting more feathers in my cap, and you know, creating communities and working so hard
oh
for
yeah, I'm sorry, I
the
forgot that you
people.
literally created communities.
That's yeah,
Yeah,
and
sorry.
so and no, that's fine. But it's just like I got a message from one of the guys he said he'd been following me for over 20 years, and that's how he started the message. And then he's been listening to these little rants that I do on Monday morning on YouTube, and he's like, you know, it's really sad to see that you're full of negativity now, and once upon a time you used to do everything for the community and you used to inspire all of us, and you know, I really miss the old Justin Fox. I wish that guy would come back. And it spun me out for a couple of days, and usually I would get really defensive and respond straight away, but I think now I've learned to breathe a little bit. So I let it stew for 2 days, which is not like me. And so it made for a much calmer response, you know. And I just said, well, I'm really happy for him. He's overcome depression and all that stuff, and I'm happy for him. But then at the same time, I'm like, you know, who the fuck are you? Like, you know, like who the fuck are you to say?
Are you more I mean, it is called a rant. It's a Monday morning rant.
Yeah,
and I'm supposed to be negative.
Well, exactly. And I'm like, at the same time, like I'm not really concerned to. I don't really want to spend my whole life going forwards doing what I've done before, which is putting 120% of myself into inspiring other people and running a community. And it's just, I've done that before, and I've been there, done that, and I don't want to do it anymore. I just don't care anymore, you know. I don't want to inspire a whole bunch of 20-year-old trolls that are just, I just don't think they deserve it. So,
man,
you know,
I know you're a couple hours in the future, but I didn't know it was Monday morning already.
But yeah, but basically just learning to be a bit more at peace with myself and not really gunning for it. It's almost like, you know, when you step outside of yourself, sometimes you might realize that what you're doing isn't that important, or you're not that important, you know? Like I think I've had like you said, like a bit of humble pie. I think I've had a whole lot of it. And I think, you know, running these communities or trying to be this thing that I'm not anymore. And I just really
funny.
don't, yeah.
Because it's almost like usually positivity is associated with someone that's humble. But with you becoming humble, it's like, well, I don't need to be putting on this kind of performance of like inspiring the community and like because you're seeing the cracks and limits of that optimism. Last year there was one person in particular, I'm not sure if you'll remember him. Somebody messaged you. He was breaking up with his wife. I think they had a kid together. She was talking about like pressing charges, or maybe she was just accusing him of rape or something. I think it was something like that.
I do remember that, but I haven't heard from him. You know, it's really weird. Like during that phase where I really was talking quite openly on social media about coming out of a dark place and medication and all of that kind of stuff, I got so many messages from people who were in a really dark place. And ever since I've sort of stopped writing about that stuff because I'm not in a dark place anymore, I don't get those messages anymore. And I feel bad. I feel bad that these people are out there 100%. Heaps of people are going through some tough shit, but they do feel like they need to talk to somebody because you can't call a helpline. It's just so corporate. Like you don't want to look at that helpline number, and you're probably not going to get a human being on the other end of the line, you know. So so I do feel sorry for a whole lot of people. I've got all the time in the world for them, but I'm not a beacon. Like because I haven't been posting about it because I'm fine. So I'm no longer a beacon. I'm no longer a message away for people that are going through some shit, you know.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting.
But at the same time, I didn't think that I was qualified to speak to these people either. I was just putting my experiences out there, and like what you just mentioned, that guy's case was pretty heavy, but I had no real words for him, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're pleasantly. It sounds like you're kind of in between, fully accepted or realized and not. You're in a different place this year than you were last year.
Yeah,
I think it doesn't sound like you're actually
it's
mentally
similar.
that different.
Yeah, it's similar. It's a similar place in that, like, I'm just trying to find a little bit more peace and trying to be okay with not producing a shit ton. Like, just it's not so much about me time or like doing what I want to do and like fuck everybody else or whatever. It's not really that. It's just I think I've been here for a few years now where it's like it's all right if I'm not waking up in the morning thinking about that thing that I need to do and putting my head on the pillow at night and obsessing about the next day where I'm gonna get up and charge at this business or whatever it is that I'm running, or a community that I'm running or whatever, and making new products and whatever. And I'm not obsessed with anything. And it's really weird for me because I'm a really obsessive, compulsive, all in kind of person. And usually I can't think of a time where I was ever not into something ridiculously over the top and spent every minute of the day, working towards making another mark in the wall. Like it's been going on like this now for maybe 4 years now, where I really haven't put everything that I've got into the one thing. So it feels like I've retired, which is kind of what this guy was sort of saying in this message to me. It feels like you've just given up. That's what he said. He said, "Yeah, oh well, he wasn't criticizing. In many ways, he did miss the old me, and he wants that guy to come back. And he was trying to give me a kick up the bum and try to say, hey, you're not old, you've still got it. Start doing it again." And I'm like, well, if I do it again, it's up to me, right? But he's right in that, like, I don't feel like I've given up, but I feel like I've given that up. Like that thing that us all humans do, which is like we like to make our lives more complicated, right? So that everything seems more interesting.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember what you do. You're a photographer.
That's what I am now for what puts food on the table and pays my bills and stuff is photography.
Yeah. And you also had created some websites, right?
Yeah, so for I suppose ever since I was young, it's my primary industry is graphic design, but I haven't been in love with graphic design for many years. Yeah,
and I remember your shop. You were telling me about it.
It's just one of those things where it's like you said, it's age, and what age lets you do is look back at the old versions of yourself critically. Like to be so in love with graphic design when I was younger for so many years and I made so much money out of it. It was great. It was a really, really good lifestyle. But now when I look back at it, I just think like, I don't know of anyone on the planet that loves advertisements.
I mean, some
none
of
us do.
Respect them. It's a very nuanced, like specific medium.
We want to block the ads. We want to skip them.
It doesn't. What do
Yeah,
you
we
think
don't.
about I have no idea how I'm going to cut down these interviews, because we have an hour and a half interview with you, we have a 2 hour interview with you and Viv, and
Mm,
the one
mm.
constant is you talk a lot. And I wouldn't say the word certainly is not,
Yeah.
it's not manic, but it does flow, and it does. uh do you ever wonder what life is like outside of that thought pattern? Like I've studied meditation, and
Yeah.
there's a
Mm,
certain, there's like a whole other world outside of what we're doing right now,
mm-hmm.
communicating and thinking in words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think about it. I've thought about it more over the last few years than ever because I've met some people. Like when I was really coming out of a dark place, I reconnected with a guy that I used to hang out with in the automotive community, and he was just a friend of mine's younger brother, and I don't even remember him, to be honest. But
Mm-hmm.
he made his way over to my house and sat down, and we sat down at my kitchen bench, and this guy, I don't even remember what he looked like, but he looked like a full-on Zen monk. He had a really long ponytail, and he was wearing all black, and
Mm-hmm.
he's just become a full-on Zen master, a meditation master, and that's his new business called Finding Space. He needed help with branding and a logo and all of that, so he came to me. But it was mostly just to catch up and tell me that he got diagnosed with cancer, and at that time he was really high up, working for one of the big banks in Sydney
Mm.
and up the corporate ladder, and he quit everything and overcame the cancer, and now he's running a business where it's all about meditation. And yeah, he really helped me to think about it in a different way. It's like maybe shit really does need to hit the fan before you give meditation some thought, you know? And this whole concept of finding a bit more peace, um, it's something that I've thought about. I think I've thought of meditation as either full of shit, or I've thought of it as, my God, it's going to take so much time and effort to get good at it that I can't even be bothered starting. Um, but I think going forwards, at some point, I probably will get there. You know, I seem to be producing less for one. Still talking a shit ton when I get the opportunity, but
I
but
appreciate
I,
it.
you know, no, well, I'm talking less. Like even that Monday morning rant, I'm not doing it every day. I'm doing it once a week because I just need to. It's almost like a valve, you know. I need to let it out.
Yeah.
It's cathartic, you know.
Routines are good.
Yeah, it's like I'm a balloon and I'm gonna burst if I don't have that little valve or just let the steam out. Um,
Yeah. Well, I'm nervous about creating a an imaginary idea that there's a version of you that's different than who you are right now, that is at peace and is better,
mm,
because there is a
mm,
certain thing about acceptance, and that not everyone, um you may not be the cancer surviving, long-haired
yeah,
meditation guru,
mm,
and that if that's what it is, then that's okay. But
yeah.
also, maybe that would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. That one thing that I really know for sure is that I've got plenty of time. Like I, I do listen to people that say life is short and all that kind of stuff, but I really didn't think that I would get this far. So everything from here on is a bonus for me, and I really can't look at it at any other way. Um, I really thought it was gonna be all over, and I was done, and now I've realized it's not my choice, and I have no I can't just turn the switch off. It's so hard to do. It's impossible. So,
Mm.
um,
The
I've
switch
got
of thinking. And
oh
your dad,
yeah,
he I like that you used the
mm,
phrase "life is short," because death is short from your experience, because of how quickly
yeah.
your dad's cancer progressed.
That's right. That's right. So that's why I mean, like, it's not really my choice when it all ends. So now I look at life in a really different way, where before I lost the plot, I really thought I had a deadline, and now I realize, oh my God, it's not even up to me. This deadline never happened. It
Yeah,
never,
no
you know,
pun
and
intended in regards to deadline.
yeah, true, actually. Yeah, it's a savage way of looking at it. But yeah, I really realized that, man, like I've got next week, I've got the week after that, I've got next month, I've got next year, and I look at, I feel different because of that now. Just not so, maybe still manic in my head, and the cylinders are still firing up there, but not manic in that I don't feel like, yeah, there's a deadline, or I don't feel like
Hmm.
I have to exert myself.
I
That's
think,
really where I'm at right now.
yeah, I think that's a wonderful distinction. And it kind of clicked in my head when you said that, because there are things we can't control, things
Mm.
like perhaps your mental energy, but you differentiated it with a larger truth that you've gotten through your own experiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can't think that sounded like some resolution, at least for me, for understanding you a little bit, because
Mm.
I was trying to figure out, like, this guy is going, he is talking a lot, he is like jumping from topic to topic.
Yeah.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of like, is he actually, like, quote unquote, at peace, or like better than
Mm.
before? But what you just said, that that uh that sorted it all right for me.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good for me to hear too, because I don't get that much feedback,
Yeah.
Like I really don't. And so I appreciate that.
Mm.
Sometimes you don't know where you're at until you do talk to somebody.
Well, I'm also thinking as like an editor of a show. It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
uh,
true.
not like your normal audience, but
Yeah.
you. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. Maybe just for the shock effect. You were talking about one thing you didn't like about when you were on medication is you would wake up. It's so funny you said
Oh yeah.
wake up in the
With
morning with.
like just flaccid and like, yeah, because as a man or as a guy, that's never happened, right? Like throughout my entire life, that's been one constant. You just wake up with a boner every single day, and like, man, like that scared the shit out of me. It's funny how it is actually, when you think about it, it's actually funny how much it scared me, because I felt more dead than being dead. Like it's just, it was really something that was beyond my control, and something that, that saying, you don't know what you've got till it's lost. And it was like, it's like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah. Well, so how's your penis doing now? It's still standing at
Oh, look,
attention.
yeah, yeah, it's all right, it's all right. But my sex life is pretty much non-existent. A lot of it is like, I do have that keeps coming back, but I don't want to feel like I've given up on life, but I do feel really blessed to have done a lot. Even with this pandemic and stuff, like just the amount of traveling I've done over my 46 years is so massive, that I'm so glad and blessed that I'm really blessed. I feel blessed that I got to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sitting here going, oh my God, the airports are opening up, I have to start traveling again. It's more of a feeling of, well, I've done a lot of that, and it really helped me grow, and it's all a part of me, and I'm just glad that I did. So I don't want to look at that as giving up. I just want to be more grateful that I've been in love before, and many times,
Yeah.
and I'm really grateful for it, that I have been in love many times, and that I can still have these 2-hour phone calls with my ex-girlfriends. And I had one the other night with a girl that I went out with for 7 years, and it was such a good catch up.
Hmm.
We're both really happy that we both have been in love before. She's still looking for love, but I'm really not. And I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really I do realize that some people it really is like, you can't be all by yourself. That's I really do believe that the best things that I've ever done in life have been because I came up with those ideas with somebody else in the room. Somebody else. I was talking to somebody else, and then something came out. I've never created an idea or a concept for something on my own.
Mm.
So going forwards, I do see the value of like even this lockdown. That's the most recent thing for me is this lockdown, and how easy it would have been for me to be really upset with the situation, which was out of my control.
Yeah.
But just having Viv live here and being able to have huge D&Ms with her nearly every single day was like a workshop for both of us, you know?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I liked what you said. And was there anything from the past year that you remember that we were going to check up on?
Not particularly, you know, like that year, and that doesn't even feel like a year since I last spoke to you. You know, it's just been a really weird situation. I don't know if it's part of like growing older too, where 1 year or 5 years, you know, you know what Facebook does? It spits out these 8 years ago today or 10 years ago today, and it spits out all these memories. Every time I log into Facebook, I see something that it should be shocking. It should be like, oh my God, that was 10 years ago. But it's not shocking for some reason. It just feels like, oh, well, that's just a number. I just I don't really freak out about it. Like sometimes I'll reshare those memories and my friends will be like, oh my God, I can't believe that was 4 years ago already. I'm like, well, I can. A year doesn't feel that long to me. And I don't know how you think about it, because the whole concept of your show is that you sort of maybe expect people to be in a different spot 1 year from when you first interview them. But a year in the grand scheme of things isn't much, is it? Really?
That's what I'm discovering. People are very consistent, and it's kind of nice, to be honest. Kind of nice, but
yeah, like it would be funny if you were someone that was so insecure that you have to live your life through other people. Like just say someone who loves to jump on the bandwagon, keep up with the Joneses, following all the latest trends. Like that person would be different every year, because it's a new thing to buy every year. There's a new trend. There's, you know, 1 year you're wearing flares. The next year you're wearing your polo shirts with your collars up. Like it's just, that would be interesting, because, you know, it's almost like the people who aren't interesting trying to be interesting are the most interesting. but yeah. You know, like people who know who they are tend to be a little bit more consistent, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting. Or people are consistent in ways they can't control, even if they don't want to, which is kind of
because
neat.
they can't help it. Yeah. They can't help but be themselves, as opposed to if you're living your life through others, then you can chop and change quite a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just follow the next person, or, you know, you can go from pop music 1 year to heavy rock the next, really.
Yeah, well, I think that's just what happened to heavy rock. We turned into new metal. Anyway, it's my mom's 65th birthday tonight, so we're going out. So I actually have to get ready to go.
No, good stuff, Matthew. Good to catch up.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It was wonderful to hear from you, and I'm glad that I think everything's going pretty good. I mean, I wasn't super worried, you know, for one thing, we're not like friends. So it's not like, but you know, I wish good things for people, and I'm so happy that your family's tight and you're doing all right.
Good stuff, man. Well, yeah. Thanks for your time as well.
Yeah.
And cool. All the best with it, and let's stay in touch, you know?
Yeah, for sure. That'd be nice. And of course I'll let you know about when all this stuff gets chopped and edited and everything.
Yeah, even if I could get a copy of this, because I just still think, again, like I think one thing is I've always enjoyed sharing, or just sharing in general, and you know, I think if someone can listen to this raw and listen to this in its entirety. They probably might find something. You know, every now and then you hear people, found a little nugget of gold in that 3 hour long audio recording.
No,
you know?
I mean it definitely is valid, and I'll send you this this copy in just a moment.
Awesome. All right, Matthew. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you, and have a good day. We got it.
Awesome, man. I'll catch you around. I'll see you in emails.
All right, peace. Thanks again.
Okay, mate. Catch ya. Bye.